Welcome to the Big Biz Show.
Taking care of business.
You want fast-talking, hard-hitting discussions on business and finance? Maybe with a barroom slant and some really salty peanuts? We're not counting calories. We're counting cash. Before we get to the man with the financial plan, meet the money team. Costa, Mary, and Greg. Now Captain Finance himself, Sully.
My, oh my, what a bloodbath today. Turn away from your computer screens. You can keep your television screen on today. But man, I wake up to an email this morning from Howie. Of course, Howie's in New York and we're in the West Coast. And he says, it's going to be a wild one today. And I looked and I saw the news all weekend long and realized that Japan had a tough run of it. And then you started looking at the jobs report last week. And then you heard that that Berkshire Hathaway sold half its position in Apple for tax purposes. Timing was perfect on that. Let's bring Howie up to talk about it. Howie, how's New York City today? Are you staying indoors? Are you staying indoors so we don't have to take a look at what's going on actually on the actual streets of Wall Street? Because it's been a rough one today, man.
Yeah, I went out to see if there were any spare nets or trampolines I could go down to Wall Street and be a picks and shovels kind of guy. People jumping off buildings and so forth.
It's just one of those days. We haven't seen a day like this in a while. The stops are in, the curbs are in, all the circuit breakers are in to keep the market from crashing, which is what it's for. But as you aptly put out a couple of weeks ago, we've been at all-time highs for almost all year. And I think what does this push us back to? What, May or something like that in terms of loss in value? And we're still up for the year.
Exactly right. That's exactly right. If you look at the S&P, we topped out of about a month ago at 5560 or 5660. Now we're at 5200 and change. That's back where we were in May. These are not crazy levels. The economy hasn't burned to the ground or anything, but it is a volatile move. It is what we were expecting. We've been talking about it on this show for weeks. The economic data, the difference between the Mag 7 and the general economy, the difference between the market itself and the actual economy. So this had to correct at some point. The catalyst for it is, like you mentioned, Sully, it happened in Japan. They actually rose interest rates, which were low for them still, while the rest of the world is trying to lower their interest rates. So that dichotomy stopped a trade where people were borrowing cheap yen and buying assets in dollars, and that was all unwound by the raise in interest rates. And that sell-off affected Europe, affected obviously Japan and Korea itself, all of Asia, and then this morning we see our turn down 4% in the Dow, 3% in the S&P, and Russell 2000.
Howie, is social media our friend in an instance like this? Because as Sully just said, hey, it's a snapshot in time. The dead cat bounce, we already talked about it.
It's going to happen. You'll see it in the next couple of days.
Right. Is it one of those situations where people are in contact with each other because of social media, where there's enough voices saying, okay, listen, it sucks, it happened to you, but we're going to get better. We're going to recover from this.
No, I think that's exactly right. I mean, the dead cat bounce is happening right now. So we started down 3-4. We're now only down 2.5, 2, depending on the index that you're looking at. But yeah, social media is kerosene for this stuff. It's an accelerant in either direction. When you have huge run-ups during COVID and people have money burning a hole in their pockets, yes, you're going to buy GameStop, you're going to buy whatever that guy on the internet told you to, and you're going to see these meme stocks burst. And then when you have a big sell-off, you have a general panic because people want to hold cash and they don't want to lose anymore.
Yeah,
they're taking off the table.
Well, I think and let's continue here in a second. I'm going to hold you over for a second, Howie. But I think one of the things we have to realize here is that the market runs on two emotions: fear and greed. And fear is a big component right here. Russ used to say it ran on beer and weed.
Beer and weed.
It was a whole different story. But the long story short is we got to talk about why fear is a component, because no one wants to be the last to sell, is how he always says. I'm going to let him explain that here in just a second. Big Biz Show, bigbizshow.com. Well, coming up, look away. Don't even look at your 401k today. There's no use even putting yourself out.
That's right. It is the Big Biz Show. Wherever you are listening, watching, we appreciate it across our great nation. In Mexico on Bloomberg Financiero, soon to be in Europe and Bloomberg EU, and of course, the American Forces Network, 175 countries, all the ships at sea, Costa, Greg Todorov, and Sully. Well, Big Biz Show. Coming up in a couple seconds, Paul Travers. When you said Bloomberg Financiero, Greg could have translated it.
Oh, I could have.
His Vuzix glasses. Great to have you. And of course, Day Trader Trio. Seen and heard. Just don't make eye contact, don't talk. I've told you guys. No, I'm sorry. I told Mary that. It wasn't you guys. I knew it was Mary Burkett. That's right. I said, "Hey, Mary, the men are talking." That's right. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Great to have you along. One of our favorite things to do here is interview CEOs of public companies and private companies. We don't like much interviewing celebrities and authors, and so we're just going to stick with this. Tim Smith is the CEO of a company called U.S. Gold Mining Inc. USGO. It's been a long time since we've been able to talk about an actual gold mining company. The interesting part of this thing is I think one of the shareholders, if I'm not mistaken, said, hey, you guys got to have this guy on the air. So I give you this. This is how important we are. We get the CEO of a public company just like that.
Yeah.
Actually,
It
happens. Actually, I think we had to beg him.
We're big time. Yeah.
Tim, how are you, sir? Good to see you.
Very well. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, listen, I want to talk about the gold space first before we talk about your company.
Sure.
And gold has been a hedge against inflation, or at least thought it was a hedge against inflation. You guys went out of favor for a number of years, about 8 years ago, and then came right back into favor after a while. And what do you attribute the resurgence of gold? Because gold is everywhere. You look at gold exchange traded funds, you look at companies like yours, you're starting to hit the news again on a daily basis. And that's been that way for a couple of years now. But prior to that, it was kind of interesting. It was crickets for a while. What do you attribute the new sort of resurgence?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm old enough to have started my career when the central banks were selling their gold because they wanted to a more liquid investment base. But and that was a real problem early on in my career. A lot of my graduating class left the industry very early on and really couldn't get their career started because gold explorers and miners were not doing well. And that was from the mid-90s through about to 2002, 2003. Then we started to see gold pick up. But the last, I would say 5 years in particular, and the last couple of years, we've really seen record buying by the central banks. So gold is a sought-after commodity. You know, we're for various reasons as a hedge against inflation. We're seeing geopolitical tensions on the rise globally, and we're seeing the rise of the BRICS nations as well. You know, the so-called Brazil, Russia, India, so on. Their central banks, they're trying to move away from their dependence on the US dollar. They're trying to support their own currencies by stocking their vaults full of gold, so they're buying. And, you know, that is really why we're seeing, I think, the strong demand for gold. And at the same time, the suppliers are starting to run out of gold. Over the last 10 years, we've seen globally resources and reserves being depleted because the big miners are mining just as fast as they can. You can bet when gold goes up 25% in the space of a year, as it has done over the last year, that they're going to turn on production. They're really going to turn their jets on and produce just as fast as they can to make money to sell gold at spot, and they're doing very well. We're starting to see now the majors with the latest quarterly financial reports coming out that they're really starting to turn the corner in terms of their own profitability. We're starting to see dividends being paid again, which is fantastic for the overall industry. So it's about supply and demand, and right now the equation is right for gold.
His name is Tim Smith, CEO of U.S. Gold Mining Inc. They are publicly traded under the stock symbol USGO. You can go to usgoldmining.us if I'm not mistaken. Tim, talk about what I'm seeing in the background there as a gold/copper mine. I've always heard that if you have a gold mine, you automatically have a copper mine as tailings, but you guys are actually focusing on this a little bit. Talk about the difference here.
Yeah. So look, just to correct you there, we don't actually have a mine. I mean, our it's in the name of our company, but it's something that we aspire to do. So we have an exploration project on a fantastic, exciting property in Alaska that has never been mined.
So this is a future mine development, correct?
Exactly.
Got it.
We're talking
that makes
about
sense.
Ounces in the ground waiting to be mined. You know, this is a really exciting flagship project for our company. It's a gold plus copper plus silver mine. We've got that trifecta, if you like, of three commodities that are all doing very well. Gold hitting record highs recently. Copper's been strong between $4 and $5 a pound. Even silver's been hitting $30 an ounce again. And we see tremendous growth potential. So right now we believe it's an exploration play. That means that we think we can make it bigger. So we're in the process of exploring to really, test the full potential of what this resource in the ground could look like before we put a mine plan to it and start to take it into development.
Tim, I don't want you strip mining preserves, and I don't want you killing grizzlies and bald eagles and stuff, but is there just a ton of gold that is out there that companies like yours, people who are mining, just can't get to because of regulation in the United States?
Yeah, there is. And that's the way it should be. We shouldn't be mining in national parks. National parks are preserved for a very good reason. But one of the things that distinguishes Whistler is it's located on state land. So we're not dealing with federal land, native title land. We're not dealing with national parks or anything like that. It's close to Anchorage. It's the closest large undeveloped resource to the main city in Alaska, of course, of Anchorage. It's just 100 miles away. You can almost see it from Anchorage. It's that close. Furthermore, the state is supporting future infrastructure in the forms of a roads to resources concept. In short, they want to build a road directly to our mine. They've already approved the first section of that, the first 22 miles, which is coming from federal funding. That's going to be working its way through permitting in the coming year. They want to get started on that road. There's not just our gold copper deposit. There's a number of different natural resources. Alaska's a resource state. They know that they're underdeveloped with respect to infrastructure, so they are actively seeking to invest into infrastructure that will help encourage economic development, including the future resource development for gold copper resources.
Hey, Tim, by the way, Tim Smith, CEO of U.S. Gold Mining, Inc., stock symbol USGO. I got a question for you. When you get started, what is the path to liquidity for you at that point? Do you start looking for another exploration project? Do you take this thing and sell it off to a mining company? I mean, after all, you worked for the world's largest gold miner, Newmont, and all the resources they have in the world to start to sort of begin this journey here. What is sort of the next step in the process and the arc of that story once this thing goes to full guns?
Yeah, so short term, it's about exploration success. It's about growing the enterprise value of the project and getting some short term wins for our shareholders. We're just a year in. We just IPO'd last year. We raised $20 million and listed on the NASDAQ to basically undertake, we phrase it as the rediscovery of Whistler. Whistler was almost forgotten for about 10 years because, as we started the interview, gold was down low. It was $1,100 an ounce at $2,400 an ounce. Now it makes a lot more sense to get in and wake this project up, put it in a new vehicle, U.S. Gold Mining Inc., get some new investors on board, and set about the exploration. So the growth in the short term is really where we're going to see share price growth. Longer term, we're going to be building this out, doing taking all of the technical steps towards making this a safe, proficient, efficient, permittable, and profitable mining opportunity for the future. Whether we take it through to mining or we partner with a major developer or a production company, we will do what makes sense for our shareholders ultimately. Me and my colleagues, we have certainly built mines in the past. If it makes sense for us to do that, then we will grow and we will do that. We'll bring on the expertise to do that. If a big brother comes along and says, hey, we want to invest, we want to participate, and that makes sense to really expedite the development of the project, and we think that will translate through to a win for shareholders, then we will look at that closely.
Tim, on the side, I've got a catalytic converter theft ring that I run to get copper. What can you tell us about copper and where is that going?
Yeah, so we have a big copper mine in its own right. I mean, I don't know if you can read the banner behind me. We tend to talk about gold equivalent ounces. So we have around 3.5 million ounces gold equivalent in the indicated category and another 6 in inferred. But if I break that down, it's a big gold deposit with around 2 million ounces pure gold in the indicated and another 4.7 in the indicated. But the copper component of that is significant in its own right. 400 billion pounds of copper in the indicator category and 700 billion pounds of copper in the inferred. I'm not allowed to add those together, but I'm sure you guys can. Your viewers can do that to basically recognize that that's a significant copper deposit. Copper is a critical metal. It's critical in terms of advancing the energy transition as we move forward into the future. One of the metrics that we came up with recently is that's enough copper to build about 6 million electric vehicles, just to sort of put that into another metric for your viewers. So this is a significant copper project as well.
Hey, Tim, will you come back with us at some point? We'd love to have you back. I mean, it's fascinating. I could keep you for a half hour on this thing. Tim Smith, CEO.
Would love to.
Fantastic. Man. CEO, U.S. Gold Mining, Inc., USGO, committed to meaningful long-term benefits for all of their shareholders.
I think it's a little cold.
Wherever you are watching, wherever you're listening, it is the Big Biz Show. I'm normally sitting at the bar, but Sully and Greg getting some much-deserved time off for the Thanksgiving holiday. And with me, as always, Mary Bird Godwin. Hope everybody is starting to enjoy their holiday season. Special shout out to the best in the business, the Day Trader Trio.
The best.
Joining us now is Jessica Zempel. She is the founder of, and I really had to practice saying this,
yes.
Life Shucker, because it kind of rhymes with another word I'm so fond of. But anyhow, the website is lifeshucker.com. Jessica with us here in studio. Good to see you.
Thanks. To see you.
Talk to us. I'm sorry?
I'm just so happy she's here.
Oh,
she and I have known each other for a while. She was on America Trends a few years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm a fan of shucking your life and shucking the things that you don't need anymore. And she and I talked, and we just talk for an hour. So this is going to go well.
You say simpatico. You sometimes connect with somebody where you have so much in common. Mm-hmm. Give us the genesis of Life Shucker. Why Life Shucker? Where did it come from?
It starts with the idea that everybody's a pearl. And it's the grit in our life that actually makes us beautiful and sparkly. And
I love that.
Thanks.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
Yeah. So many of us are ashamed of things that have happened or, our life. And I just want people to know that it's actually part of why they're beautiful and magnificent. And the other part of the metaphor is that there's shells around our pearls, and we close them in times of fear, natural. But if you're in your shell too long, it's dark, isolating, constricting, and you gotta shuck it open with love.
Yeah. And you just don't want to be an oyster in New Orleans. That's all.
Right.
Someone's going to consume you.
And this leads into, I think, one of the reasons you're here, which is your new movie, Cracked.
Yes.
And I watched it yesterday. Actually, I had seen the preview that you had posted, but I knew you were coming, so I watched the whole thing. And so talk to us about that, because I know, speaking of I now see why you went into this Life Shucker business and doing what you do. You are such a beautiful, let's say, pearl coming from a lot of hardship in your, growing up. So talk to us about Cracked.
Yeah, it's really a story of love between my father and me. He experienced schizophrenia, and the way it manifested for him, which isn't true for everybody, was a lot of violence and rage. And so it created a pretty turbulent childhood, and then years of hiding from him, and we didn't talk for about 25 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I'll miss those years, but it wasn't safe.
Yeah.
So when you say hiding, like physically hiding from, I don't want to get hit, I don't want to be verbally abused, I don't want to be verbally or physically assaulted, like literally hiding.
Yes.
And you had a restraining order.
Yep. Our family got a 10-year restraining order, which was the first ever in Minneapolis because of all the violence.
Now, I had so many questions while I was watching it, and so I'm glad you're here. But schizophrenia is something we don't talk about in our society. I don't even know how common it is, but how it presents itself, because I think we see maybe homeless people or unhoused people that are talking to themselves, and that's one aspect of it. But it can affect, did he already have it when your mom married him? How did you all find out that he had it?
It started to show when he was in his like 5 or 6 years old of age.
Oh, wow.
I have journal entries from my grandmother that he was acting a little bit differently. And then when he went to the Marines is when it really got bad. In no way do I blame the Marines. I think anything that would have been tremendous pressure would have cracked him.
Right.
And in fact,
Did he serve in a wartime or anything?
he didn't, but it was just too much pressure for him, and then it was the Marines that helped him so much in taking care of him with social workers and his medication and everything, and yeah, so I have a lot of gratitude for our military.
So did your mom know when she married him that he had that?
I don't think she did. I don't think people had words for it back then either.
You know, I think that's one of my biggest questions is, you know, is he's walking around, like, will he be able to, when he's, I guess, in his...
Psychosis.
Yes, and his name is Dutch.
Yep.
Yes. So when he's Dutch, as you all knew him, would he be able to say, oh, by the way, I might come at you with a different personality?
Was there ever that moment of clarity where he went, hey, I think something's wrong, type of thing?
As far as I know, when he went into these states of psychosis, he was not aware of it. So it's like he would disappear somewhere and then come back and be confused and lost. And I think that's actually why he would call me 100 times a day, because he would go somewhere and then when he was back, he didn't know where I was or what I was doing. Okay. And so I had interpreted that as stalking and terrorizing me. But through all my healing and reconnecting with him and listening to his side of the story, I really feel like he was actually being the father that I always wanted him to be, just in a way that I didn't understand. And so that's why we reconciled.
Spammy, to use a term now that comes up, but because it was just coming at you a lot of different ways. Because do you know how many, wasn't it Sybil that had 9 personalities or something?
Something like that, yeah.
Did he know how many do you know how many he had?
I don't. As far as I can tell from conversations of people around him, he had one different type of experience that he would fall into.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Jessica Zempel is the founder of LifeShucker. Her website is lifeshucker.com. Her book, A Shuck This Way, reached #1 on Amazon, and Cracked, her new film, To Inspire Hope and Healing, launched back on November 11th. I'm a very handsome guy, so when people see me after 25 years, it's like, you haven't changed at all. No, but in all seriousness, 25 years, and then you go and you meet your dad for the first time. How did you think it was going to go versus how it actually went?
I thought I would remember him more than I did.
Okay.
He was really like a stranger, and that was
How hard is that? I was going to say, how hard is that to, like, wow.
Yeah, just, here's this person that is my father, and to not recognize him or his voice was pretty wild.
Yeah.
And it also was beautiful because we got to start at that place. And it's almost like I got to wipe the slate clean. Not that I forgot everything, but at least we had a fresh start. But I do have a funny story about us reuniting. I was always taught to bring gifts to people's homes. So
sure,
I had picked up some cashews.
Love cashews.
And me too. And I had some association with cashews and my father. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to bring these, and like I'm wanting to impress him and connect with him. And I get there, and he didn't have any teeth.
Oh, that's a problem.
Oh God! You gotta laugh at that. I mean, that's
totally.
Yeah.
So
did you present them, and you're like, oh?
Did he go, what kind of warped sense of humor do you have?
He had such a good sense of humor, so he just laughed.
She is Jessica Zempel, the founder of LifeShucker. Her website is lifeshucker.com. Her new movie, Cracked, launched. When was it? Where was it launched? I'm sorry.
In San Diego on 11/11 Veterans Day for him.
Check it out.
It's on YouTube.
Erasing the stigma behind mental illness. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thanks for coming, Jessica.
Have a safe and blessed Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Bob.
Jessica Zempel, again, founder, LifeShucker, the website, lifeshucker.com. Keep it right here. More with Big Biz after this. Big Biz Show rolls on. Glad you guys are with us today. Another great show from the Loft 100 studios. Thanks for being along for this ride. I am Costa. That is Greg Todorov, our executive producer. And you just had your hands on your hips.
Stay tuned or trio, ladies and gentlemen. Good to see you guys over there.
Best ever.
5 Grammys, 4 Tonys in a restraining order. You guys are doing great. And an expired Costco card. We were talking about something on the. What were we talking about on the break? We were laughing at something on the break.
Surfing? We were talking about surfing deaths, so that wasn't laughable.
Okay, that was like last Wednesday.
Sorry.
Wardrobe malfunction.
Do you have a memory therapy?
Wardrobe.
Steve Brady, of course, the CEO of Tempest Therapeutics with us, TPST. Yeah, I'm talking about today.
Wardrobe malfunction.
Wardrobe malfunction.
Yeah. Borrowed your shirt to go to the rodeo, and it popped some buttons.
Have you heard of 10 pounds in a 5-pound bag?
Yes, exactly.
But can I ask you this? Do you so we're going to talk about liver cancer in a minute, which could have been avoided, Mike. I'm sorry, Mike.
It's okay.
My question for you is: do you have stores that you shop in? I mean, are you a Nordstrom guy? Because I'm an Amazon guy. If it's blue and the other thing's blue, I'm blue.
Beautiful.
Like there is no style here.
My wife is for me a Nordstrom anniversary or half yearly sale. Other than that, we are website folk.
You are.
Or the Ascot shop in La Jolla, California.
Can I tell you this? Can I tell you this? Can I ask this? So do you have certain clothing that you won't put in the washer and dryer?
Yes. Dry cleaning only.
Is it because of maybe the extra helping?
Maybe.
Okay, I'm just checking. I'm just asking.
Red Bear.
Okay. Can we talk about? I want to talk about something serious. So we followed the arc of this story of Tempest Therapeutics for a little over a year, and we saw this company that found out there was a significant need for new and effective cancer treatments, and suddenly we've got this clinical stage oncology company that comes up with, and I'm going to say it. You don't have to say it because you see it company. But a cure for liver cancer, potentially. I mean, we're getting close to solid tumor cancers where we're going to move the needle. 2 years ago, we keep on hearing people, we had 7% of cancers cured, which is not great numbers. I know we feel like we're doing good. We weren't doing that good. So you put out some fantastic news on phase 2 top-line data back in October. This stock, and how often in the last 30 years on this program do we talk about stock? We don't talk about stock price. We don't talk about numbers because we don't have to. We talk about the space. We talk about the company and put some light on it. We're not about promoting. I will tell you this. Because of your top line data, and I'm staring on the barrel of 800 years old, in the history of the stock market, there's never been a one-day gainer larger than Tempest Therapeutics. Now, it was based upon fundamentals, right? Who's in the lunchroom? Steve Brady. What are they doing? We got FDA top line. It was all fundamental. I would argue that I was personally responsible for 30% of it, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. However, you came up with more data here in May. And I want to bring this up because there's no graceful way to do it from a company standpoint, but the investment community completely put the emphasis on the wrong syllable. Okay, missed the entire point of your last press release. Now look at, and I know this is highly different for many of our viewers across the country and across the world, because we just don't do this. But when you see somebody say, Patriots win, you'd expect to have a Super Bowl parade. Yeah. I want you to talk in terms of not only scientific terms, because I think we have a scientific audience, but also in terms of Johnny Lunchbucket City CEO investors, because we touched on it last time, but I think this message needs to get out. Because I'm just going to say it, you're undervalued. Your market cap does not demonstrate what you are as a company. You have not said a word, but I've been in this business long enough in the investment banking side that the chances of you not getting acquired or not getting a path of liquidity are slim and none, and slim just left town. So this is a company that, I'm not talking about the science, I'm not touting anything. I'm just saying, why is there a disconnect between the valuation of this company? And by the way, this guy's taking phone calls every day who's pointing their finger squarely at you for some reason, and that it's not your fault. Is it because the perception of that press release was mistaken or not misunderstood? Because I read it four times today. You couldn't have put it more plainly, but people just didn't get it. So talk about what actually happened, and I'll calm down.
Yeah, no. So first of all, thank you for inviting me back, guys. It's always good to be here.
We love having you here.
So there is no perfect answer to what happened I believe it was in June. And one thing that bears repeating is in October, when the stock went ballistic and we put out those data were not the data. They were important and they were exciting, and they still are exciting, but they directionally were pointing towards what we have now. Because in first-line liver cancer, as you guys know, it's a very large indication. There's an endpoint around the world called overall survival. That's what everybody cares about.
I want to stop down. What do you mean by endpoint? Because we hear endpoint in biopharma in terms of FDA.
Right.
When as investors we hear there's an endpoint, is the endpoint define endpoint for the rest of us?
So it's a regulatory endpoint. When you go in and you do a pivotal study, you need some kind of a readout, right? And there's multiple different ones that the FDA and the regulatory agencies in China and Europe, but they all have one that they agree upon globally for liver cancer, and that's one's called overall survival. What is the rate that people are living in your new investigational therapy?
So this is,
and by the way, it's also the gold standard.
I was going to say, this is the accepted industry gold standard for here. So there is continuity to where every company who's vying for this is shooting at the same bar.
Yeah,
correct?
in fact, what's evolved in drug development over the years is people have been trying to negotiate with FDA and everybody else to do things that aren't OS. They've been saying, can I do a surrogate? Can I do something that will result in people living longer? The data we came out with just recently and the data that we're going to be generating if we do the phase 3, it's all OS. Yep. And the beautiful thing going into it is that you're saying you read it 3 times. The data we just came out with out of the phase 2 are great.
So what they missed was we hit the endpoint goal, and the reason they missed it was because people didn't die?
Well, this is where you get into imperfect answers. I think there's a few variables happening here. One is that, and I guess I should technically say these are my views, even though a lot of people I know share them with me.
No, and we play a disclaimer also. I mean, look, we're not touting this up, but I think the story needs to get out here because this is a NASDAQ publicly traded company. There are people that own this in their retirement accounts.
Right.
And 1 + 1 does not equal 2 today. And it hasn't for a couple of weeks because somebody misread the press release, or we didn't do a good enough job here on this program, or whatever. But we missed the point. I think it's important for the next several times for us let's get the point out there, because you reacted in a way that has never been seen by the stock market in October. We should have seen similar, maybe not to that extent, but we should have seen
dramatic.
Right.
I agree with you. We were flabbergasted because again, everything in October was pointing towards this. Then we had the this. And so instead of it going sideways or going south a little bit, it should have done something.
What did people mistake it for? Because they read it as one thing when it was really another thing. You and I have talked about this off the air before. I think that they hear it didn't hit an endpoint, and they maybe took that as a negative. And
I don't know. I mean, maybe. So when we talk to our analysts and the people covering the stock, there's another positive fact that we came out with in June 2. We got the data. So we hit the 6-month improvement over the standard of care. So the number one therapy worldwide, we hit a 6-month improvement in patients living over that in this phase 2. But 50% of our patients are still alive as of that read. So that can actually get better. And patients were still on drug. And so one of the analysts said, I wonder if that's cutting both ways. I just...
Wait, people living longer and proof of concept is cutting both ways.
You're saving too many lives.
Well, I mean, because theoretically, if you're a strict statistician, numbers can shift either direction until something is 100% done. I choose to look at, when I look at the overall data, because by the way, the other thing was when we looked in the data, we went into subpopulations, right? Because there's all different groups, whether you're cirrhotic or, different types of indications. And the survival benefit was being maintained across all the, key subpopulations.
Right. But people can't live less than they already have. So in that sense, the data can only go
God,
one way,
I feel
right?
are you having an out-of-body experience? I'm looking down at you guys.
No, I'm
floating.
But the math adds up.
I mean, not to ask a religious question.
No. It's actually, unfortunately, it's the stats question about how you build a Kaplan-Meier. But at the end of the day, what we're excited about internally, stock market aside, is what do people want from us next? They want to know what the FDA says, right? Because we can have great data, go to the FDA, and they say, well, we don't agree with the way you want to do this. The thing that was best out of the phase 2 is the thing that we're going to go to FDA with to get the drug approved, and we're going to design.
And you couldn't have gone to go to the FDA if it had not hit those marks.
Yes,
I think that's important.
We wouldn't have an argument.
Before you get out of here, what does the second half of the year look like for you? What's next? We're going into phase 3. We're trying to fund phase 3 potentially.
Yes, so we still need to fund the phase 3. The biggest next thing for us is when do we get what are called our FDA minutes? Right. When does the FDA, we have formal interactions with the FDA. We've guided the street that we expect to hear back by the end of summer, which is sort of, soon. And what that does is it removes risk. Yep. That tells everybody, okay, now I know what the FDA agreed with, what they didn't, and what you guys are going to do, and how long it's going to take, and all that good stuff.
Steve Brady, it's always great to have you back here. And by the way, folks, for our Bloomberg audience, you'll see a special with Steve Brady tonight, and again coming up in a couple of weeks, of course, because they just like to have him just talk to Mary. I'm not allowed on the set, by the way. Steve Brady, Tempest Therapeutics. TPST. Go read the damn press release again.
There's a really good baseline in 46 and 2.
Oh, okay. I love when CEOs of public companies are really hippies, like baseline.
It's
like the Nike guy, Phil Knight. See you in a minute. Wherever you are watching, wherever you are listening, it is the Big Biz Show. We continue from sunny Southern California and the Loft 100 studios. Costa sitting here behind the bar. Sully and Greg getting some well-deserved time off for Thanksgiving. And of course, Mary Bird Godwin. Another episode of Nunya Business. It's what happens when we get control of the con. And of course, in studio with us always, the best in the business, the Day Trader Trio. James, ready? All right, that wasn't bad. I'm getting there.
I just noticed there's still a bag of Funyuns on the stage.
Is it where?
Behind Brian.
Oh.
They're hiding them from you.
It's my.
Oh, James has some too. Yeah.
You may have them. Belated Merry Christmas. Joining us back at the bar in kind of which is going to be, I think, a very fun, informative roundtable segment. Corey Perlman, Nicole Rawson, and Jessica Zempel. They've been with us on the show today, talking about their various disciplines, and it's kind of crazy how really the three of them are so linked together. And I would say that the mental aspect of what social media and bad tech versus good tech, and Jessica, obviously mental illness as a whole, are kind of just intertwined there, and they go hand in hand. And Corey, you're helping people with social media, and people would say, well, God, Nicole must hate you because she's trying to say that, tech's bad, blah, blah, or some tech is
They're
bad.
They're going to duke it out.
That type of thing. But you also, in your book, you have a chapter on the mental aspect of what social media can or does do for you.
Yeah, I say in the book that you can be on social media without being on social media. And what I mean by that is it can be your expertise and your perspective. We are in charge of our own content, but somebody else can post there so that we don't feel like we're forced to be scrolling mindlessly and posting updates day in and day out.
Nicole, and I am so guilty of it, that visceral, oh my God, somebody likes me. Yes. You post something on X or whatever, and then 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Oh my God, no one's
The
responding.
little red, alert. I'm like,
that's why it helps to have someone else manage it and really moderate those emotions, because you don't want to take it so personal. And it happens whether we want to or not when we're looking at comments and looking at likes. And that's how it's designed to be addictive and to keep us coming back. So I definitely am not anti-tech, but to be balanced. And for some people, balance is a lot different. It's not 50-50. If you're a highly sensitive, intelligent individual and you're compulsively scrolling, that is a big sign to have someone else manage it for you.
Jessica, you were talking earlier about your movie Cracked just opened up on November 11th, Veterans Day, and that relationship that you had with your father, and then the large gap in between, and then getting to know him again, and mental illness as a whole. And not only in today's society are you dealing with depression, or you may have something, your father had schizophrenia, that type of thing, but then you add the extra layer of stress, social media and tech and the screen and stuff. And I think for some parents out there, or people that might be think, I can't win this war.
Is it a situation where you just, like Corey and Nicole have said, you just have to physically unplug it yourself and I guess heal yourself? With the help of, Life Sugar.
That's right. Well, one of the trends that I'm actually seeing with my clients are silent retreats. So I will actually work with people to unplug for 3 to 8 days at a time, and people love it. It's not easy. It's actually there's.
How do I check my fantasy team?
I just had a visceral reaction to that. I was like, I can't imagine that.
Well, 8 days.
But I need it. I definitely think I need it.
And you can survive too.
Yeah.
Everybody comes out of that.
Yeah.
They didn't really miss anything.
Yeah, it's beautiful, the results of that. But it's a process of detoxification and then reconnecting with ourselves, because that's really what's missing when we're using devices as distractions and numbing ourselves.
Nicole, was it with your kids, was it like a junkie going cold turkey? Or was it a slow process trying to wean them off of whatever was distracting them or hurting them?
Well, that's a lot what we coach parents about too, is whether it should just be a reduction, harm reduction, or abatement and abstinence, because a digital detox is a complete detox from it, and you can't achieve your neurological baseline if you're constantly getting microdosing of this agitation, whatever it may be. For some people, it's social media. For some people, it's scrolling the news that becomes very agitating. So we work with the client to see. My own son, it did work to go cold turkey and no more Minecraft, no more Roblox.
Sure.
All that
like
stuff.
ever? I mean,
well, he was 14, so we took it away then, and it lasted, he was bored for a month, very similar with my clients. It's all preparation and mindset, knowing what's going to happen, how to prepare, how they're going to react. Just like setting yourself up if someone is professionally managing your social media. You want to know what these steps are and what to expect. And I think that's the big part of the equation that's been missing.
Did you say Minecraft?
Yes.
Okay, you have kids, right, as well, Jessica? No. Okay, so my son, literally, he pulled me into his room one day, and this is a couple of years ago, and he said, Dad, look, I built our house. Literally, to a T, built the house we are living in. And I was like, oh my God, look, you're a future architect, and here we go. You're welcome, world. But
doing some more.
Well, yeah, but then, and I know there's some positives like that, because that, I'm able to compliment him and validate him, like, wow, that took some time. I understand that, you did a really good job. But it goes back to the baby Einstein thing. Am I really helping him, or should I say, get your ass outside, go run down the street, fall, eat dirt, do something, get off the screen.
Right, and the manipulation of building something with an actual model at their age, and using their hands and their true creativity, not this manufactured creativity that toxic tech is providing, is proven much more beneficial than just following the path of, I sat here and now I feel hungover because I was on tech for an hour.
So I know there was a lot of talk with, let's say, Instagram, Meta, and there's studies coming out saying they knew that a lot of this stuff was negative for kids and let's say teenage girls. Are they doing things about this? Is big tech taking any steps?
You certainly have to take it into your own hands. We were talking off stage that Zuckerberg himself doesn't let his kids on social. That is just crazy to think about.
Rules,
and I'll give you
for me
just a real quick example. My daughter, who's a teenager right now, she's on a screen break as we speak on Thanksgiving week, and it's been amazing. And she even said to me yesterday, and I'm not making this up, Dad, I'm loving it.
Yeah.
She actually told me she's loving it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
I can't thank the three of you enough for coming in studio. Very enlightening subject today. And of course, Mary Bergavin as well. Corey Perlman, Nicole Rawson, Jessica Zempel as well. Thank you so much. Happy Thanksgiving. Hope it's a great holiday for everybody. And that's going to do it for this edition of the Big Biz Show from everybody here at the Loft 100 Studios. Wherever you guys are this Thanksgiving, make it safe, make it great. We'll see you soon.